Aang's first animated film takes us into a battle against the past to protect the future with Avatar Aang, The Last Airbender.
Yeah, this film being the first feature-length film, animated-wise, for Avatar: The Last Airbender, it went through a lot. Like, it was supposed to be released in theaters before Paramount just decided, you know what, you're no longer getting a theatrical release anymore. They did do a minor theatrical release, but it was mainly New York, LA, like the cities there. But it went through a lot. It actually got leaked online, which caused them to push it up. It was supposed to be in October, and then it got pushed up to July because of the full film getting leaked online. So it had a lot of issues coming out and stuff. But yeah, we finally have the first feature-length film for Avatar: The Last Airbender. It's about an hour and a half, hour and 40 minutes with credits and stuff. And it takes place with the gang during their 20s. So you have Aang, who's searching for different air nomad relics, looking for statues and other things to try to keep the memory and the spirit and everything alive of the airbenders, because, of course, he still is the last airbender. But he runs into a group who are searching for something, which ends up being a map inside of one of the statues, and they're looking for a staff that belonged to a long-lost avatar that no one really knows what happened to Avatar Sonam. And it kind of kicks off from there. So Aang, as he does, gets obsessed about finding out what this gang is doing, but what they're looking for. And then when he finds out about this long-lost avatar, he has to know more information. So, and, you know, he's in his early 20s, but in many ways, he still feels like the little kid Aang that we had in the original series, which was, I don't know, it was good, but also bad that he still kind of felt a bit immature in where he is. I mean, this is, of course, 10 or so years past the end of the series. He should be a little bit mature by now, but he still has that just stubbornness that I'm going to do what I'm going to do no matter what anybody else says.
Yeah, I think they did an okay job of like keeping some of that style of humor from the animated series that you kept in here. You get some of the jokes and stuff in there. It's got a good mix of action and humor, some heart into it. Like, visually, I will say the animation on this film is gorgeous.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, it is absolutely stellar, top-notch animation done by this. You could definitely tell they took their time making this, as they should have. But man, I really, really wish this would have gotten its own theatrical release. I know circumstances around it have been a little weird, and it's kind of had people, you know, wondering what could have been. Obviously, there's a very hardcore fan base for Avatar, the animated series. In my opinion, it's one of the better animated series that have ever come out. Oh, yeah. Very short run, 3 seasons, but just phenomenal storytelling in those 3 seasons. And, you know, like you said, Aang's out here on the hunt for these relics because they're building the Republic City here, the city that you see if you watched Legend of Korra. It's kind of where all that takes place. This is like the beginning of the building of that. You know, at the end of Avatar: The Last Airbender, they end the 100-Year War. There's peace throughout the earth now. All the nations are kind of at peace with each other, and everything's good, and they're just kind of rebuilding the world from there. And that's kind of the crux of where this jumps off, until you have this group who are very much anti-benders, who don't have bending abilities, or like they call themselves the Denied. They're, you know, this group that are on the hunt for, like you said, the staff of the long-lost avatar, which is naturally going to spark Aang's curiosity, because, you know, he still believes he's the only airbender left. And then, you know, he goes on this adventure. He finds, you know, he winds up running into this character lost in ice, very similar to him, and it winds up being, you know, Taga, another airbender from well before his time even. And just, I want to say, voiced wonderfully by Dave Bautista in this film. He is so good in this role here.
You cannot not recognize his voice when he speaks.
Very, very easily recognizably Dave Bautista in this. And obviously, you know, there's some people out there that feel a little bit upset as far as the voice actors go, that they didn't get the same voice actors from the animated series. Notably, the one most people were probably most upset about was Dante Basco, not back as Zuko, but they got Steven Yeun from The Walking Dead, and, you know, another very popular actor to come in and do it. So I kind of get the upsetness about some of it, but they wanted to, I guess, age the characters up a little bit and age the voices up, even though the voice actors got older too. Like, I don't know why we couldn't have done that, but the guys and girls that stepped in for the main characters did a good job at this. This felt like a enough of a moving forward in time telling story where you still get the gang back together. You know, you got Team Avatar here, you got Appa, you got Momo, you got all your main characters here on this quest and this adventure with Taga now in tow to try to find this staff to stop this group from doing, you know, nefarious things. And not everybody has the right motivations, and that's where the, you know, that's where the crux of this story comes in. And we get some incredibly animated fight scenes in this, especially the Airbender duel was really, really cool to see them pull that off. It was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun with it. I think people that like Avatar the animated series are going to really enjoy this film too.
Yeah, and the lore around this staff is that Avatar Sonam was able to use the staff to connect with the spirit realm. So she's able to pull power from the spirit realm that gave her the ability to give others who are not naturally benders, bending power. So, yeah, but of course something happened back in her day that caused her to go missing, the staff to go missing and everything else. And that's kind of what the Denied want. They've, I guess, heard the lore about the staff, and they want the staff to give themselves power so they can fight back against what they feel is oppression by all these, you know, the Earth Kingdom, Fire Kingdom, everybody else who has these powers, and they have no say in everything because it's everyone who can bend gets to call all the shots. So they want to use the staff to give themselves powers. And yeah, you deal with Tonga, who is, or Taga, not Tonga, Taga, who is, like 5,000 years old. He's been trapped in a similar bubble that Aang was trapped in himself. And he has a different viewpoint on the world. Back then, it was the Earth Kingdom that was kind of ravishing and killing and destroying everything. And he has a very kind of set in stone view about how airbenders should be basically it. Like, no other elements, just airbending, because we're the peaceful ones. But he wants to destroy all the other elements and stuff. And you can get, it's a little spoiler, but you got to be able to see right away that he ends up becoming the main villain in this film. Like I said, it's only an hour and a half, so it moves kind of quickly through it. I had fun with it overall. I do have some probably nitpicky issues with it, because the powers and the things that Taga does, he's able to match the Avatar without additional powers in a way, especially even the Avatar in the Avatar state he's able to match. But you also have the Denied, just feels like a plot point more than anything else, because they have to go through this immortal storm. So it's just tornadoes, hurricanes, winds, everything there. And you have Aang and Taga who are destroying tornadoes and clearing a path for his friends, who, of course, have to be along for the journey with him here. But the Denied are able to get through on their own without the Avatar and without anybody else, because the path kind of closed up behind the gang, but they're able to make it through. And then by the end, it's like, well, there's still, some of them are still around, but it's just like, it could have developed that more, to have some more emotion or real story behind it, because you don't really even learn any of their names. You get one, like two of them being the main kind of story behind them. One's the leader who wants to stop at nothing to get the staff, while there is, of course, one who doesn't fully agree with what they're doing. But past that, they don't get much development, and they're just kind of left at the end of being. And then, not to spoil too much, there's stuff that happens to them right before the end, and they just learn things way too quickly for what they should be able to, especially when you go back and look at how long it took Aang and everything to learn stuff. They learned way too much in what felt like a 30-minute span of time, because you don't really get a full feeling of how much time is passing within this film, but it feels like it's a day or two. Like, it's not happening that spread out. But the things that happen are happening just way too quickly with some of the people.
Sure, and that's a fair argument. It kind of makes you wonder why we care about that group. Like, they're kind of just there. You don't really learn all of their motivations. Their motivations are pretty thin. They're like, hey, we don't like not having bending abilities, and that, like you said, everything gets run by benders and people who can, have abilities and stuff, and it's not fair to everyone else. And it's kind of a loose thing, but I guess it just they felt like it didn't need to expand beyond that in the story, which is a fair criticism, I would say, because, you know, it definitely feels much more focused on having to stop Taga, and they're more his lackey. They want to becoming his lackeys, or were they his lackeys the entire time? It's kind of open to interpretation, I guess, or it's just a marriage of convenience to, you know, to do what they need to do. But it still, I mean, like, minor nitpicks and stuff of that aside, it's still a really, really solid Avatar film. It felt like a very extended episode of the show that was kind of like a half a season mixed into one film, which was a lot of fun to go back and explore these characters. Obviously, we know they're not done in the animated realm with Avatar, because they've got the next series that's coming out later this year that a lot of people are going to be looking forward to as well. So it was still cool to kind of come back and see all these characters that everybody loved aged up a little bit, and on this hopefully maybe not one-off adventure, and hopefully that we get to see more from them. But it was cool to see the characters that we all love back in it, for at very least one last kind of adventure, and to see where that it left off, and was pretty happy with how everything kind of rounded up by the end of it.
Yeah, because it's been 18 years since the season ended. The series ended. It ended in 2008, so it's been quite a while since we've had Aang in animated form with something like that. We had like comic books that continued the stories. Sure. We've had some video games that have done okay. They haven't always been that greatly made and stuff. But until, you know, Korra, that's kind of the last that we knew of Aang between the comics and what the original series. And so this is bridging a little bit of a gap in between Korra and the original series, which it ties into Korra a little bit because, as you said, you get the city that they're saving and everything else, but you also lose a little bit of because it tries to make you feel dread that something bad is happening to all these characters, but at the time frame it's happening, if you're a fan of Avatar: The Last Airbender at all, you know nothing was going to happen to any of these characters because it's just too early in their timeline. Like, this is actually Aang and Katara being married and having a family and all that stuff. So it's right in that timeline, but it definitely feels before. We didn't get confirmation, but you didn't really see anything that said that they're a married couple and stuff. But yeah, I had fun with it overall. Like, I'm being a little nitpicky on that story parts because it is the original animated series was such a beloved show, because one thing it did good for a quote unquote kid show was the heart and the emotion. Yeah. It was all about the relationships and the emotion and how things affect and feel. And that's why I was a little bit let down by The Denied, because you didn't really feel anything about them. Like, they were just kind of there. Like, they were good fighters and they looked cool and everything else, but you didn't really care. And about, you know, a franchise that's always been about heart and soul and core and emotion and stuff, you kind of you felt a little bit for Taga and Sonam and all that, and the gang, you know, having them back, plus some Easter eggs, like flashbacks and throwbacks to them as younger and older and everything in between there. But it did miss a little bit of that heart and emotion with, you know, thrown in a group that you really don't end up really caring or knowing much about. Yeah. And you don't really even know what their motivation was coming into it either. If you haven't read all the comics and know things that it was being based off of, because I haven't, you're kind of like, okay, you're setting up. Did we need a huge exposition on what their motivations are? But it's like, they know stuff that the Avatar doesn't know, and that he's having to go through the history of avatars to find out more information and stuff. And it felt like that could have been developed a little bit more for me to just feel a little bit better about, because like I said, that's what I loved about the animated series, was that heart and emotion and core. And then you couple that with Aang still being in his 20s, but still acting like he was 12, 13 again. And some of the more emotional parts did feel like, you know, by now, after fighting the war, having all this time with his friends, of rebuilding everything after the war, that there should have been a little more maturation that happened with him a little bit. Well, I get that they were trying to give you that feel of the animated series, of the characters feeling, because Sokka feels exactly like Sokka from the animated series. Like, he hasn't changed at all. He's telling stories to kids where he's overly ripped and his shirt's open and he's the hero of everything, which fits Sokka perfectly. Yeah. But I did feel like Aang just didn't... He should feel a little different at 20, and he didn't really feel that different in here. So that's my nitpicking with it. Like, it's just me because I love the heart and the core and the emotion and the soul that the animated series has. And it gets most of it there, but it just doesn't fully have that hit. Maybe if it was a little longer, I don't know if it really needed to be longer. I just wanted more of that emotional connection to the story that's going on. And when you have a core part of it, feeling that they should never have been in the situations they were in or have everything they have with the Denied, feel like you could have done a little bit better in that aspect.
Sure, I mean, but to kind of counter that point, it's kind of hard to develop that connection to these characters who were just introduced in this, and you only have an hour and a half to tell your entire story. Because
that's what I said about it not being long enough, is you didn't have enough time to actually go into it.
And that's the difference between like a movie and a show, where you get more time to develop your attachments to these characters. Like Zuko went from being one of the more like quality villains and almost despised to like being this anti-hero, most popular character on the show by the time the show ended. Like you felt for him, you felt the, like you could tell there was good inside of him still, despite the bad things that he was doing, and you were kind of pulling for him. Like Zuko is such a well-written character. Like you got the time to develop that over 3 seasons that you don't get in a 90-minute movie. And like, I get it. Like they were intended to be one of the bads in this, but the big bad winds up being Taga, which you wind up spending kind of more time with.
And you get good development.
You get development with him because he's meant to actually be the main bad guy focus. And these guys were kind of bad guys, but they wind up being more lackeys than anything. So they didn't necessarily need to have as much development, I would say. But I get where you're coming from. Like, you don't get that same opportunity to get all of their motivations. You kind of just get a little quick window, and then you kind of got to go and deal with, the Avatar gang as you're wanting to spend more time with them, and then focusing more on the big bad Taga, who, like you said, gets that good development in here. So they kind of got what they could give them with the time that they were given, and almost wonder if they do stuff beyond that, if you could explore that a little more, maybe. I don't know, but I think they served their purpose okay. Like, it wasn't, like, spectacular character building, but, like, I think it was fine for what you got. It was fine. Like, I don't...
They just basically became plot devices, I would say.
That's kind of what they wound up being, because Taga was the guy you needed to focus on, and they did great with him. He was such a cool and interesting character, where you get the, is he friendly? And then he winds up seeing like his view on things, and you're like, oh, immediate red flag. Like you can see where this guy's about to be a problem. And, him being a little too overpowered, was it a bit heavy-handed? Sure. Because, really he shouldn't be able to hang with the Avatar in the Avatar state, like you said, because he is supposed to be so powerful. But what fun would that be if he couldn't be? But he got aid from the staff too. Like he was a solid, really strong airbender going into getting the staff, but obviously the staff enhanced his abilities to where he could compete on that level. Kind of almost gave him Avatar-like powers, minus the ability to master all of the elements, obviously, but it really enhanced his airbending abilities and led to what wound up being a really, really, really cool fight between him and Aang at the end of the movie. That was just hats off to the people that made this movie, the animators. I feel so terrible that this movie got leaked. Yeah. And it wound up being a really big thing that I believe they wound up finding the person that leaked it, and it was somebody in Singapore who's still, I believe, facing trial for it, or
I'm not
sentencing. Sure. Like they're facing up to like 7 years in prison for it, I believe, or something. Like it was crazy, but you kind of felt bad that it kind of altered the plans that they had for this movie. But I would have liked to have seen it get a theatrical release. Like I know it's getting like a really short run in New York and LA at some theaters to kind of make it eligible for, award season. It was kind of their strategy behind it, like giving it a weekend release in a theater to make it eligible for stuff. But I kind of wish we would have got a limited dates everywhere, even if it was just for like one weekend. You could go see this in the theaters. They would have made a lot of money off of it.
It would have been fun to see because, as you said, the animation was gorgeous. So seeing that on the big screen would have been really good with that. Yeah, and I might be being a little bit more critical with it. We've also been watching season 2 of Netflix's Avatar: Last Airbender, and kind of been all involved in Avatar and stuff here. But yeah, it's still like just make it feel a little bit more like they are in their 20s. Katara feels more grown up, and Sokka still feels like Toph is still Toph, which I complain about Aang, but Toph still being the same was fine for me because I love Toph, and her attitude and everything else. It was just more of like the journey that we went through with Aang through the 3 seasons, and it being 8, 9, 10 years past that and what he's been doing. He still felt a little too immature of where he should be. Like he wasn't immature all the time, but it was still that stubbornness with his decision making, and that's just a personality flaw that can continue on. But the journey he's been through, you feel like that it maybe should have been a little bit more, but that's being nitpicky with that. But overall, it was a good time. Like, this is something I would rewatch, and I'd go back and revisit. That me and my kids watched it together, and we had a lot of fun watching it, laughed a lot. You had Taika Waititi had a little bit of a voice cameo in it, playing a character that you didn't expect to hear him as. But I turned to my oldest and said, it sounds like he's about to break out and sing Shiny from Moana, because whatever voice he was trying to do sounded a lot like him. And it's like, I just can't stop hearing the crab from Moana when I'm hearing him voice this character. I'm like, I don't know why my brain's stuck there. I'm just waiting for him to sing Shiny.
That's funny. They did get a lot of voice actors in here. You got Ke Huy Quan, got to play a role in here, got to play one of the old avatars. You got Ronnie Chang from The Daily Show. You got just several well-known actors here. Like the Avatar Sonam was played by Frida Pinto, which was another good get for them. Just like a lot of really good name actors got to play some little bits inside.
Got the Cabbage Man coming back.
The Cabbage Man was Ken Jeong. Like, that was so funny. Just instantly recognizing that man's voice. Had to have that moment too. But you had a lot of the callbacks to the animated series, like you said, that kept it fun. That were like a little wink and nod to those that love the series as much as we do, and a lot of people that grew up watching it, I think, are going to get a lot of enjoyment out of this, because it has a lot of those elements that you fell in love with from the series that were kind of mixed in here too, while aging it up a little bit as well, moving them forward in time a little bit. But it was good. It was a good time. Like, I had a blast watching this. I want to watch it again just to kind of see see all the cool stuff, and maybe see some of the Easter eggs I may have missed in my first watch. Because, kind of pull back the curtain a little bit, we literally just watched this movie like a couple of hours ago. Like, it's not.
They released it like 3 a.m. on a Saturday.
Yeah, it's not that long into the movie being out that we've actually gotten to watch it here, because obviously we're not going to support any pirating or anything like that. We wanted to wait until it was properly out to watch it, and now that we have, we can talk about it. So it was a good time, man. If you love Avatar, you're gonna really dig this one for sure.
And so Avatar: Aang, The Last Airbender is a fine feature film. It's been 18 years since the animated series ended. We've got the gang in their 20s now. I have some nitpicking problems with Aang still feeling like a little kid in his 20s. It's his personality flaws that they're trying to still have out there, but it still feels like maybe he should be a little bit more advanced in his character by now. You do get some characters that just feel like plot devices, and their powers and things that happen towards the end just feel like it happened way too quickly. But overall, the animation was beautiful. The voice actors did their job well. I thought it was a fun film that I would watch again. I was tossing back and forth between like a 7.5 and 8. I think I'm going to, because of all my nitpicking, I'm probably going to stay with that 7.5. But I was close to giving an 8 because I did have a good time with it. It just had some flaws and issues that I personally just can't overlook the problems that it had with that.
Yeah, that's a solid score for it. I'm giving it an 8 myself. Like, I want up there. It's not without some of its minor gripes and issues like that drag it down just a little bit, but it's still a really fun movie. If you love Avatar: The Last Airbender animated series, you're gonna like this movie. It's a fun return of the Avatar gang. Like you said, it's been almost 2 decades since the series has gone off the air. Still holds up great, that animated series. Go back and watch it if you get the chance to, but definitely give your time to this film. It's a real fun one-off adventure. We'll see if it goes anywhere and see if they do anything more with that. Obviously, they're not done in the animated universe. We got the live-action series happening right now on Netflix. You got another animated series that's coming later this year on Paramount that looks really cool. They finally dropped the trailer for that this week. A lot of cool stuff coming out of San Diego Comic-Con about that, and all kinds of other nerdy things that I'm excited about coming down the pipeline. But for fans of Avatar: The Last Airbender, the animated series, this is a good film for you to come back to and watch. Go check it out. It's definitely worth the time.
Overall, it was a fun time. I enjoyed it. Like I said, I was nitpicky over it, but please watch it. Give it your own review and your own look at it. It was kind of strange it dropped at Saturday morning at like 3 a.m. for everyone to watch it, but it's worth watching even for the animation alone. But you can check out Avatar Aang, The Last Airbender on Paramount Plus right now. Stream it, watch it at home, in the comfort of your home, and kind of relive some of those memories if you're a big Avatar: The Last Airbender fan. If you enjoyed it, if you didn't, come to our socials and talk to us about it. We'd love to see what other people felt about this film. And so thank you so much for tuning in, and if you feel so inclined, do all the things to help the show out, from follows, shares, likes, and comments on social media to subscribing on YouTube and your favorite audio platforms. All of it helps us out so much, and we can't thank you enough for all the support.
You can also become a subscriber over on Patreon to get each episode delivered to you early, exclusive merch items, and your name read out at the end of every episode. Check it out at patreon.com/we'llbringthepopcorn.
That's going to do it for this episode, and we'll see you on the next one.